There's a lot of features on a Rubicon that are really nice. One of them is the push button disconnect sway bar assembly. But what happens when it fails? And all you have is that flashing light on the dash indicating your sway bar is no longer connected and the Jeep is all over the road. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how to fix it for only 50 bucks. So stick around because I think you're going to enjoy this. Welcome back to GP for Beginners, folks. Once again, my name is Josh, and in this video, we are working on repairing my sway bar on my Rubicon. For those of you that this has happened to, I'm sure you've done the research and you found out just how expensive that particular module is on this Jeep. So I looked into it to get a new module replaced from Mopar for the JK. Right now, just the parts alone is a little over $3,200 just for the parts. Then it still has to be installed and programmed to the vehicle in order for it to work. So we're pushing close to $4,000 in order to fix it the correct way. So there are several aftermarket options. One of the options is the RockJock anti-rock system. I looked into that and I looked into the reviews on that, and there's a lot of mixed reviews as to whether or not that's really the best way to go. Then I looked into just getting a new sway bar assembly from like a Sport or a Sahara model, eliminating the module altogether and going with disconnects on the ends. Kind of an old school way to do it, eliminating the feature on the Rubicon that has the disconnect. Well, believe it or not, to get the factory replacement sway bar out of a Sport or a Sahara, plus a nice set of like the JKS quicker disconnects, it actually worked out to be more money than the anti-rock system. So I continued to do some shopping. And what I found was an awesome way to not only maintain the Rubicon sway bar module, but to repair it. And it only costs 50 bucks. This little guy right here is all it's going to take. And 50 bucks and the problem solved. So in this video, we're going to install this. We're going to see if it works and how it works. And I'm really excited to get the sway bar back working again so she can go back to being stable on the road, especially on a windy day. All right, so real quick, for those of you who don't fully understand how the sway bar assembly on a Rubicon works, let me just explain it, okay? So basically, instead of one straight sway bar assembly mounted like on the Sports and the Sahara that mounts to two parts on the frame and then end links down to the axle, it's actually two sway bars. All right, you have your longer piece on the passenger side, shorter piece on the driver's side, and they meet inside of this module. It's about this big, that's got a little pin that drives them together. So when the module is working, electronically, it drives that pin in, it connects those two pieces of the sway bar so that it works like one. When you hit the button on the dash, the module releases the pressure on it, pulls the pin out, and allows the two pieces to move independently of each other. So ultimately, what we're going to do today is we are going to eliminate all of the electronics. We are going to pull the plug on the entire system, and we are going to remove the module and separate it down to just the two pieces that need to connect to each other. And this little device right here, which is what I picked up on Amazon, and this little device right here that I picked up on Amazon is going to replace that entire module. The spring goes on the end, and then it's just a manual turn to push that pin in or manual turn to release that pin so that it can still behave as a both connected and a disconnected sway bar. So I just wanted to cover that real quick in case some of you didn't actually know how the Rubicon sway bar module works. So this little guy comes in three pieces. It's actually pretty lightweight, but heavy duty at the same time. Okay. And that's all there is to it. And this is going to eliminate all of the electronics. So let me go ahead and start taking this apart. We're going to get down to the module, and I'm going to show you hands-on exactly how this is going to work. Most of the time, there's some sort of a protection plate or a skid plate that's in the way that's going to have to be removed. Um, in our case, it's a factory skid plate because I'm still using the factory front bumper, believe it or not. But anyways, once that's down out of the way, it reveals the actual sway bar module. Let me show you what the factory module looks like. So this is the factory sway bar module. There's the plug that goes into it. As you can see, right behind it, this is the actual sway bar assembly itself. And it goes right into about where this splits right here. And where this splits right here, the pin is driven across the front. And then this is the other part of the sway bar here. So all the magic happens inside of this. So what we're going to do is we are actually going to unplug it, which we're going to remove this. And then we are going to pull this entire module off and ultimately just set it aside because it no longer works. Super duper easy. The whole module comes right out. And as you can see, it's just this little pin that's on the end that locks it into place. So in looking at this, I kind of have a feeling that the failure was caused by water. Because this whole thing is soaking wet on the inside where it's actually supposed to be sealed. So although I can't get the actual module itself apart, I'd be willing to bet there's water inside here, which is actually what caused the failure. But this bolts in 3 places just like that. So if you notice, this guy is going to bolt in basically the same 3 places. And then, just like this electronically moves in and out, this will manually move in and out. It's pretty much going to do the same thing. Now, the plug for this, which is also clean in my case, so there's no burnt diodes or anything as far as the plug goes, which makes me think that this is just not really worth $3,200, but that's just me. Anyways, the plug is going to have to be tucked up out of the way because we're not going to remove that from the Jeep for 2 reasons. One, if I ever do decide that I want to put the factory module back in, I still want the wiring there. But since we're not going to be using it, we don't need it hanging down out of the way. In order to make the light go away, once this is all said and done, from what I understand, you can take it to the dealer. They can hook up their YTech laptop to it, and they can actually program this out of the system. So therefore, the light doesn't sit there and just flash at you. But now we're going to reuse the factory hardware that we took out of this to remove it. We're going to install this guy, and we're going to see if we can lock my sway bar back into place. So this is what it looks like on the inside. Okay, the spring is actually going to go into that big hole there, and then we're going to bolt the piece back into place. And that way we can get this sway bar to lock back together. And there you have it. So now, instead of this entire module coming out to here and plugging into this guy, it's just a twist knob. All the way tight, should be locked in place, and now my sway bar should go back to working like it's supposed to. When I head off-road, all I got to do is loosen it up until you hear it click. Oh, right there. So loosen it up, and now it should be disconnected so I can go back to using the off-road mode. Now, once it's all said and done, whether or not you decide to put the skid plate back on, that is actually completely up to you. In my particular case, I'm actually going to leave it off. And the reason I'm going to leave it off is because I am on and off road quite a bit. And so it's not just a once in a while thing. And to be able to reach up underneath and disconnect that by hand, the skid plate's going to be in the way. Besides, the skid plate was there to protect the module, which, although it did its job and it never got hit by anything, the module still failed. So we'll call it weight reduction. We're going to remove the skid plate and leave it off for the time being. So there you have it, folks. For 50 bucks on an Amazon purchase, which I'll put the link in the description below if you want to check it out for yourself and see that it really is only 50 bucks, I was able to solve my problem nice and simply, which is the goal on this channel, to do things simple and cost effective in order to keep all four wheels on the ground and keep you jeeping. Now, will I keep it that way? I don't know. At some point in the future, the more I did the research, I may just switch over to the RockJock anti-rock system. But for now, this will actually make it a little safer for me to drive into the city of Las Vegas. And especially on those windy days, she ain't going to act as much like a sailboat. So in the meantime, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions about what we did today or anything else, feel free to put it down in the comments below. Oh, and don't forget to check out the website at jeepingforbeginners.com. Not only is the updated schedule for our in-person classes live up until the end of next month, but we've added all kinds of cool new stuff. For example, we now offer online Jeeping 101. You really got to check that out because it's one of a kind and it's never been done before. And as of this week, there is now an online store, so you can pick up some Jeeping for Beginners gear for yourself if you're interested, and we would appreciate it because it definitely supports the efforts here at Jeeping for Beginners. So in the meantime, folks, please stay safe, happy Jeeping, and we'll see you next time, I'm sure. It's the Capital One Adventure Card. Useful for more than just spending money.